Hey guys, I'm Hyozi, and this is my attempt at a playthrough of the original Fossil Fighters game with only Air Element Vivosaurs. In Fossil Fighters, you fight with dinosaurs revived from fossils called Vivosaurs. Each Vivosaur has its own element that does boosted damage, resisted damage, or neutral damage to other elements. Today I'm using the Air Element Vivosaurs, which deal boosted damage to water and resisted to earth, and take boosted from earth and resisted from water. This means that any opponents that primarily use water element Vivosaurs should be pretty easy, while those with mostly earth teams should be a challenge. The rules for this challenge are simple. I'm only allowed to use Air Element Vivosaurs in battle. If the story requires me to have any other Vivosaurs on my team, I can include them. However, I'm not allowed to use their abilities in any way. That means no attacking and no buffing. If I'm forced to use a non-air element Vivosaur and they are the only one remaining on my team, then that fight will be treated as a loss and I'll have to restart. I'm also playing with level caps, meaning my Vivosaur's levels cannot exceed the level of the current level cap, usually dictated by the ace of the next level up fight. If one of my Vivosaurs is a higher level than the level cap, I cannot use it until the level cap increases. Finally, I'm not allowed to use glitches, cheats, or exploits in any way. Now let's begin the challenge. I start off by talking to Captain Travers as he brings me to Vivosaur Island on his boat. He asks me about my favorite dinosaurs, and I tell him my favorite is the Velociraptor. This decision will come up in a bit, but right now all it does is give my character a new outfit. For Velociraptor, I get an all black and gray outfit for some reason. I'm not really sure how that works, but whatever. After getting acquainted with Dr. Diggins, the one who invented the fossil revival technology, I begin cleaning my first fossil. Since the current level cap is only 1, and it's not long until the first level cap increase, I try to clean the fossil to be just a few points below 100. I revive the fossil and get the first member of my team, Spinax. Spinax is a rather bulky Vivosaur with good health, defense, and attack, so they'll be a great member for my team. Now that I have my first Vivosaur, Dr. Diggins sends me over to the Fossil Stadium to have me take my first fighter's test, which will determine my level caps for most of the run. My fighter's test opponent is Captain Travers. However, since all he has is a frail Goyo, it's an easy 2-shot win. As a prize for winning, Captain Travers gives me a leg fossil for a Velociraptor, the dinosaur I told him was my favorite. Finally, now that I've beaten Captain Travers, my level cap has increased to 2, but I forgot about that at the time and stayed at level 1 until the next level up fight. Oops. Since I'm now officially a licensed fossil fighter, I head over to Beginner, don't laugh, to teach me about digging up fossils at the trial dig site. B buries 3 fossils for me to dig up. Another Spinax head fossil, a new unknown fossil, and a normal rock. I head back to the fossil center and clean that new fossil, granting me another Vivosaur for my team, Shanshan. Shanshan has low health, but has a 40% critical hit rate and a low FP attack, making them a pretty useful addition in the early game. Not that I have many options, though. I return to the trial dig site and meet Holt, who challenges me to a fossil battle. Holt uses a level 1 V-Raptor and a level 1 Igua. V-Raptor doesn't hit very hard and has low health, while Igua requires 100 FP for its only attack, despite hitting me twice as hard as V-Raptor, so it's an easy win for me. After the fight, I'm given access to the first real dig site, Greenhorn Plains. Greenhorn Plains gives me access to 2 new Vivosaurs, my own V-Raptor and Goyle. V-Raptor is similar to Shanshan with its low FP attack, but I don't plan to use them since Shanshan gives a small stat boost. On the other hand, Goya will be immediately added to my team, since its support effects give me a 30% attack boost, so I can defeat my opponents faster and essentially take less damage. While in Greenhorn Plains, I hand over my Vivosaurs to access an area full of rare fossils, which actually turns out to just be full of rocks. While there, I meet Rosie, who gets her Vivosaurs stolen from her while mine were just tossed away. So after a bit of running around looking for the stolen Vivosaurs, Rosie and I confront the thief called Metal Dealer Joe. Joe ends up being an easy victory, as I defeat him without losing a single member of my team. Joe keeps his word and returns Rosie's medals before running straight into the police and getting taken away. Rosie thanks me and tells me that the level up battles are soon, so I head over to the Fossil Stadium to confront the level 2 master and island receptionist, Wendy. Wendy leads with her V-Raptor and I lead with my Shanshan. Wendy starts by using her V-Raptor's toxic combo on Shan Shan, dealing major damage and even poisoning them. So I hit V-Raptor with a Shan Fang and then switch to Spinax to avoid losing Shan Shan to the poison damage. Of course, Wendy goes for another toxic combo, but doesn't poison this time, so she switches to her Goyo to protect V-Raptor. However, since Goyo's support effects reapply on Spinax, I'm able to take out both Goyo and Shan Shan in a single hit, and then use Goyle to finish off V-Raptor and win the fight. My victory over Wendy promotes me to Fighter Level 2, unlocking a new dig site in Knotwood Forest, and raising the level cap to 3. Rosie also introduces me to her grandfather, Mr. Richmond, who's not very important now, but he'll become more important as the story progresses. Knotwood Forest doesn't have any Air Vivosaurs, so I'm not able to get any new team members from there. What I can do, though, is return to Greenhorn Plains and dig up some arm fossils, so I can unlock some new moves on my current Vivosaurs. I have to make sure to clean all the arm fossils at 50 points, though, so I can have some wiggle room with battle points. And I dig up head fossils so the cleaning robot, KL33N, or just clean, can donate them and give me donation points, or DP, in return. I can then exchange that DP for 2 new Vivosaurs, Terra and Stego. Terra doesn't have great health and defense, but is a long-range attacker, so they can attack from the support zone without a damage penalty. Stego is who I'm really interested in, though, since Stego has more health and just slightly less defense than Spinax does, making it a good frontliner. Heading back to Knotwood Forest, I meet the Digadig tribe, whose chieftain asks me to recover their sacred key from the Digadigamid, and then proceeds to strike Rosie with lightning after vigorously shaking his hips. Rosie somehow manages to shrug off the 300 million volts of electricity and come out mostly unscathed. Except now she can't stop herself from saying the word Digga in every sentence like the Digadig tribe does. This is enough of a shock to make Rosie pass out, because 2 extra syllables are somehow astronomically worse than being hit with the wrath of God. So now I have to go into the Digadigamid alone. After setting 1 foot inside the Digadigamid, I'm confronted by a shady guy who attacks me with his Goyo and Steigi. Basically a fire element Goyo. He gets beaten in 2 turns, chants some ancient magic at me, and runs off. At least it's better than getting struck by lightning. Deeper inside is a dog, who uses a Nodo, who gives a whopping 90% defense boost, and a Megath, with a measly 9 attack and 6 defense, so he basically just has a Nodo. To make matters worse for him, Nodo is in the AZ, while Megath is in the SZ, so Nodo's defense-boosting support effects don't even matter, and the fight is an easy Stego sweep. After beating a dog comes the real challenge, though, the dreaded long-nosed man. Why is Mr. Longnose so important, you ask? Because he uses a Vivosaur called Karchar as his ace. Karchar has roughly the same health, attack, and defense as my Spinax, who is basically my team's MVP, and is an earth element, so they do increased damage to me while I do decrease to them. Longnose even uses his own Goyle to further power up his monster Karchar and hit 30% harder. So with all this information, how did the fight go? His Karchar took out my Stego and almost took out my Spinax before going down, and then I one-shot his Goyle. That was easier than I expected, but I feel like if I didn't have Stego to soak up some damage, then I would have had far more trouble. Apparently he agrees too, since Longnose drops me into a room with Nevada, the one that came for the Digadig key before me. Once we escape, Nevada and I chase after Longnose and Dog to the Digadigamid treasure room, where their boss, Vivian, is. Vivian introduces the other 2 as Rex and Snivels, before running out of the room and locking us inside, presumably forever. But we manage to escape again and confront Vivian in a fossil battle. Even though Vivian is supposed to be the boss of their trio and uses a Lambeo that hits harder than anything else I've encountered, Vivian easily goes down, almost single-handedly, to Stego again, and hands over the Digadigamid treasure. At least it was supposed to be a treasure, but the chieftain tells us that the weird idol we recovered is not the real treasure, and instead something he randomly found. But since we drove out the thieves, known as the BB Bandits, we're given the idol as thanks. And Rosie gets struck by lightning again. I almost feel like the chieftain has something against her or her grandfather or something. With the Digadigs satisfied, I'm now able to take my level up test against, surprise surprise, Nevada herself. I lead with Stego, while Nevada leads with her Lexo. Nevada begins by hitting Stego with a poison tail from Lexo, but doesn't manage to poison, so I hit back with Stego's spike tail. We repeat this the next turn, but this time Lexo does poison Stego, so I'm forced to switch out to Spinax and hit with a Spinax Fang, leaving Lexo on a sliver. Lexo once again uses Poison Tail and poisons, but takes itself out from Spinax's auto counter, bringing U-Raptor to the front and giving Nevada a huge FP boost. This allows U-Raptor to hit Spinax hard with a U-Venom, and then Nitrous to follow up with a Nitrous Claw. Even though Spinax is low and poisoned, I can't switch them out for one more turn. So all I can do is hit U-Raptor with a Spinax Fang and then go down the next turn, bringing Goyle to the front. Goyle takes out U-Raptor with a Goyle combo, and then I move Stego back to the front to take down Nitrous with 2 whirling dashes and win the fight. With that, I'm now a level 3 fighter and get access to Rivet Ravine and a new level cap of 4. Rivet Ravine is an interesting dig site, with most of its areas being locked off until my fighter level increases. As a level 3 fighter, I only have access to the initial entrance and the 3 main tunnels inside. Speaking of inside, I meet McJunker, a large man who's furious that someone destroyed his minecarts, and initially blames me for it. After telling him I'm innocent as I literally just arrived, McJunker sends me to get back his stolen tools, which are being held by BB bandits buried in the ground. I make quick work of them and return to McJunker, and he tells me to pick up an Electromite from the junk depot, and to bring a V-Raptor with me. Once there, I meet Holt again, who challenges me to a fight before handing over the Electromite. However, he wasn't even close to a challenge. On the way back, I revive 2 new Vivosaurs, an Elasmith and a Coatless. Elasmith is almost like a combination between Stego and Shanshan, having good bulk and low FP attacks, while Coatless is a beefier Terra, but minus the support effects. With these new additions, I make a new team so I can prevent Spinax, Goyle, and Terra from getting too many battle points, since I want to add both leg and body fossils to them later on. My new team consists of Shanshan in the front, who can then switch with Elasmith after attacking, and having Coatless in the back as a long-range hitter when needed. After returning with the Electromite, McJunker sends me down the minecart to confront the BB trio. Rex challenges me first with his Noto from last time and a Zyno replacing his Megath. Those who've played Fossil Fighters before know all about Zyno, the king of missed attacks, since it can't even hit a parked car with its measly 6 accuracy. Every Zyno attack is supposed to be a critical hit, but who cares how strong you are if you can't hit anything? Next up is Snivels, who starts off with a bang by immediately taking out my Shanshan with a crit Karchar combo. This brings Elasmith to the front to hit Karchar with an Elasmith combo, and Coatless follows up with a Wing Cutter, bringing Karchar down to about a quarter. Snivels switches in Serato, who fails to knock Elasmith to the EZ with Serato combo, and then gets taken down by another Elasmith combo and Wing Cutter, forcing Karchar back to the front. Luckily, I move Coatless to the front to finish off Serato, as Karchar combo nearly takes out Coatless, meaning Elasmith would have stood no chance. Coatless hits Karchar with another Wing Cutter before going down and allowing Elasmith to finish Karchar off with another Elasmith combo. With Rex and Snivels defeated, Vivian decides she doesn't want to fight this time, and they all run off. This lets me dig up what they were searching for, another tacky idol, before returning for my next level up fight. Since I'm level 3, I now have to fight an additional opponent before the level master. My first opponent is Holt again, who comes in with Apache, Coatless, and Tricera. The fight wasn't much of anything again, with the only loss being my Elasmith to his Pachi. After Holt comes McJunker, but since he doesn't have any Earth Vivosaurs, only using Air Element Kentro, Serato, and a Fire Stygie, I didn't expect much of a challenge. McJunker begins the fight with Serato, who, unlike Snivels, hits Shanshan for about half and then knocks them to the EZ. Elasmith moves forward and hits Serato with an Elasmith combo, doing about a quarter, and then Serato hits Elasmith back for half with another Serato combo. Elasmith tries again with Elasmith combo, and luckily knocks Serato to the EZ and brings Kentro forward. Kentro hits Shanshan with a whirling dash, and then just barely survives a ramming horn and a crit Shan combo after I switch out Elasmith for Shanshan, who then gets finished off with a spike tail. Coatless moves forward and Kentro switches out for Serato, but for some reason, Stygie attacks with a fiendish headbutt doing little damage. Coatless goes for Wing Cutter, but Serrato lives and nearly takes them out with a Serrato Fang and a crit Fiendish Ram. Next turn, Coatless is able to take down Serrato and then swap with Elasmith to hit Steige hard with an Elasmith combo. Steige doesn't do much damage to Elasmith before going down and bringing Kentro back to the front, who nearly takes Elasmith down with a Whirling Dash and activating Elasmith's Parting Blow ability. Not that it really matters though, as Kentro is just barely standing and goes down in one hit. With that win, I become a level 4 fighter and gain access to Bottoms Up Bay and a new level cap of 5. I take about 2 steps into Bottoms Up Bay before Rosie is surrounded by denture sharks and needs me to run over to help her scare them off. Rosie then tells me about the sunken ship of Captain Woolbeard, and she's confident it will be loaded with treasure and somehow rare fossils. Once we find the ship, I find a book on team skills which allows me to hit all of my enemies in one attack, and make my way over to Captain Woolbeard's personal room. Captain Woolbeard himself appears before us and tells us to find his missing beard ribbon, and that he cannot rest until he has it back. Woolbeard tells us to quickly find his ribbon, but Rex and Sniffles lock us inside the room before we can leave. Well, at least they try to, but a mysterious girl literally blasts a hole through the door, inspects the room for a bit, and then just leaves. Now, I know Woolbeard told me to hurry and find his ribbon, but I put it off for a bit so I can upgrade my sonar and dig up some leg fossils for my Vivosaurs, giving them a level up and a new third move. With that out of the way, I head over to the hotel and find the current owner of Woolbeard's ribbon, a rather eccentric man named Knick-Knack. Knick-Knack tells me that if I want Woolbeard's ribbon, I need to gather 3 items to trade for it. The first item is a molted bug shell, and I have to go to the Dig-a-Dig Chieftain to find it. Just before reaching the Chieftain, Rex ambushes me and challenges me to a fight. Rex now has a full team of his Noto, Megath, and Zyno, but is quickly taken care of and chased off, allowing me to talk with the Chieftain and once again vigorously shake my hips at a fossil bug to get Knick-Knack's shell. Next, Knick-Knack wants me to collect a sandal fossil for him, something that Rosie thinks would be at the junk pile Metal Dealer Joe used back in Chapter 1. Once we get there, we find Snivels digging around for the sandal fossil, who then challenges us to a battle. Snivels still uses his signature Karchar, but this time also uses a Lambeo and Futabi in the back. Since Snivels is using a Lambeo now, he has more health than I do, letting me go first, and lightly tickle Karchar with a Shan combo. Surprisingly, Snivels doesn't actually attack with Karchar for the first 2 turns, and instead uses the water element Futabi to hit Shan with 2 winding snaps and excite them, preventing Shan from switching. I decide to try out Coatless's new team move, but it doesn't do much except the Karchar. Once again, Sniffles makes a strange move and attacks Shan with Lambeo's sliding ram instead of with Karchar. I'm not complaining, as that gives Shan more time in the AZ, letting me hit Karchar with a diving thrust from Coatless before Shan goes down to a 3rd winding snap, bringing Elasmith to the front, who can then take down Karchar and force out Lambeo. Once again, however, Sniffles uses Futabi to hit and excite Elasmith with a Steer the Storm, before I take down Lambeo next turn. Futabi moves forward and doesn't even steer the storm again, this time just lightly poking Elasmith with a broadside before being taken down. I'm very confused by those choices, but hey, an easy win is an easy win. After chasing Snivels off, I'm given the sandal fossil by the girl from before, who introduces herself as Duna. I then return to Knick-Knack, who sends me to find the dentures of a denture shark. Rosie is traumatized by the denture sharks, however, and refuses to go, so I navigate through Bottoms Up Bay to find them, while also going on a small digging trip to get my new Vivosaur from the ship, M-Raptor. M-Raptor has good support effects, but because of how fragile they are, I decide against using them, as I already have the harder-hitting Shan. Afterwards, I return to the hotel, and I'm confronted by Vivian in the elevator. This time, Vivian decides to be a challenge as she brings her 2 Earth elements, her Lexo and Pachirino. As usual, I start with a Shan combo and do half of Elasmo's health with a lucky crit. Vivian, for some reason, hits Shan with a Pachirino combo from the SZ, and then moves Pachirino to the front after the attack. I get another crit Shan combo, but it doesn't do as much to Pachirino, who then counters with another Pachirino combo, this time almost taking Shan out and knocking them to the EZ, dragging Elasmith forward. Elasmith deals a decent amount with Elasmith combo and gets hit for half by Pachirino combo before they switch in Lexo. I hit Lexo with Elasmith combo for nearly half, but I'm forced to switch Elasmith out for Coatless after getting hit and poisoned by a Poison Tail. Before I do though, I get a crit Elasmith combo and take Lexo out, and then take Elasmo out with Coatless's Great Vortex. Pachyrino is the last enemy remaining and hits Coatless with another Pachyrino combo before getting super enraged by Great Vortex. Because of the super enrage, Pachyrino misses their next attack and gets taken out by Coatless. With Vivian defeated, I return to Knick-Knack to retrieve Woolbeard's ribbon. The BB trio manage to get to Woolbeard first, however, and try to fool him with a fake ribbon, but Woolbeard notices the fake and becomes furious. With the BBs scared off, I'm left to fight Woolbeard to calm him down. Since Woolbeard is a pirate captain, he only uses Water Element Vivosaurs, being Krona, Elasmo, and Plesio. However, Krona does nothing before getting taken down. Elasmo quickly follows after, and Plesio falls the next turn. Woolbeard was an incredibly easy fight, and I hope I don't have to fight any more Elasmos with my Elasmith for the rest of the run. Now that Woolbeard's calmed down, I can give him his real beard ribbon, and as thanks he gives me a third tacky idol. More importantly, I'm now able to start my next level up fight, and just like last time, I have to defeat someone else before fighting the level master. My first opponent is Ellie, who uses a Django, Onyx, and Coatless, but since 2/3 of his team is water, he doesn't put up much of a fight. My next opponent is Sally, who uses a Serato, Goyo, and U-Raptor. Sally also wasn't much of a challenge, but the fight was just a lot of knocking to the EZ on both of our sides until someone finally fell. However, that Sally fight did cause my Shanshan to level up to level 6, and since the level cap is only level 5, I can no longer use Shanshan until the level cap increases. So, in order to fight the level master, I switch Shanshan out for V-Raptor and move on to the final fight against, who would have guessed, it's the brand new character introduced this chapter, Knick-Knack. It turns out Knick-Knack is doing the same challenge I am, as he has a full air team of Styraco, Elasmith, I don't know why and I don't like it, and M-Raptor. To make matters worse, Knick-Knack starts on a high note by hitting my whole team with a 35% boosted Ruin Beam from his Elasmith, dealing more than half to my V-Raptor. V-Raptor uses Toxic Combo, which manages to poison and then switches for my Elasmith. The poison forced Knick-Knack to bring his Styraco forward and hit Elasmith with a Styraco combo twice before being taken down by Elasmith and Coatless. This brings forward M-Raptor, who I match with my V-Raptor and deal more than half with a simple Velociclaw. Surprisingly, M-Raptor stays in the AZ, even after taking V-Raptor out with a crit M-Toxin, so I take them out with a Diving Thrust, leaving just Knick-Knack's Elasmith. Elasmith manages to scare my Coatless with Phobia Beam, preventing 2 of their 3 moves from being used, but luckily Great Vortex remains untouched, so I'm able to use that and my own Phobia Beam to win the fight. This unfortunately levels up both Elasmith and Coatless to 6, and even though I'm now a level 5 fighter, the level cap remains at 5, so I'll have to box them. Now that I'm a level 5 fighter, I unlock Mount Lava Flow, but I'm not able to go there yet, as I'm stopped by a police officer who brings me to the police chief Bulwart, informing me that Rosie was kidnapped. The kidnappers want me to bring the 3 idols I collected to the park area docks in exchange for Rosie. Now, I know this is a serious situation, and I know that time is of the essence when it comes to kidnappings, but I'm sure Rosie and the kidnappers would understand that I instead chose to head out to Rivet Ravine and dig up some new fossils. Since I'm level 5 now, a new section of Rivet Ravine is opened up to me, allowing me to get Hypsy, Metria, and Goyo. Goyo is just a long-range hitter, and I already have Coatless and Terra for that, so I'm not too excited about them. But Hypsy and Metria are different. Metria is a decently stocky attacker, basically being a weaker Spinax, but Hypsy has not only support effects that provide 30% buffs to all stats, but also a move that can heal my team. In fact, Hypsy is one of the very few Vivosaurs with this ability, and the only air element one at that, making them invaluable for saving otherwise unbeatable fights. I spend the next while gathering fossils to drop off with Clean for donation points, and to sell so I can upgrade my fossil sonar to now detect body fossils. This allows me to complete a full Vivosaur skeleton and unlock new 4th moves on all of my Vivosaurs. 4th moves tend to be special, as most of them tend to be only non-attacking moves. For example, there's Hypsy learning 3 attacking moves and then their healing move, or Spinax who learns 3 attacks and then Harden, which increases the target's defense, and Metria who learns Inflame, who increases a target's attack. So of course I go around again and gather all the body fossils I can, making me very appreciative of how patient Rosie's kidnappers are. Once that's done with, I grab the idols and head over to the park area where a ship with a large bee on it is docked. A large bee, huh? I wonder who that could belong to. When I approach the ship, Lo and behold, a BB soldier comes out to challenge me. He's just a no-name grunt though, so I make quick work of him and take his ship over to the BB base. While at the BB base, I dig up some fossils, get attacked by a lot more random grunts, and challenge Rex, who's blocking the stairway to the next floor. I decide to switch out my Terra for M-Raptor for this fight, for reasons I don't really remember, and make quick work of Rex. I make my way to just before Snivels and then return to revive 3 new Vivosaurs, Styraco, Coelho, and Kentro. Coelho is just a worse M-Raptor, and Kentro, while being a defense class, is outclassed by Styraco, who has both bulk and attack. Once I've gathered up the necessary fossils for Styraco, I head back to challenge the terror that is Snivels. Snivels has finally realized what challenge I'm doing, and confronts me with a full team of 3 Earth Element Vivosaurs, Acro, Orano, and his ace Karchar. Going into this fight, I was genuinely worried, since Karchar and Acro can hit hard, while Orano can confuse and ruin any plans I might have. Of course, Snivels leads with his Karchar, and I lead with Styraco. Snivels refuses to attack with Karchar for 2 turns though, allowing me to hit it 3 times with Styraco combo, one of which even being boosted by Metria's Inflame. But then he pulls out Karchar's team skill Earth and Blast, taking both Styraco and Hypsy down to about 20%. I try to take out Karchar with another Inflame-boosted Styraco combo, but just barely fail, and Styraco gets defeated by Karchar's massive jaws. This forces Metria forward, but now I'm scared, so I heal Metria with Hypsy's life charge and take out Karchar, preventing any more team attacks. This brings Acro to the front, who is basically just another Karchar, and hits Metria with an Acro combo. However, I realize something huge in that moment. Because of Hypsy's 30% defense boost to Metria, I only take about 80 damage from Acro, and Hypsy can heal 80 damage every turn. So I do the only thing I can do in order to win. I heal Metria every turn I can to counter Acro's damage and slowly whittle away at Acro's health. Almost immediately, Acro nearly takes out Metria with an Acro Fury, but Metria manages to hold on with just 1 health left, and after 10 long minutes, take out both Orano and Acro for the win. That fight was brutal, but there are still worse to come later. Vivian is up next, but all she has is a Styraco, Hypsy, and Dilofo, so I quickly take out Hypsy with an Inflame and Parting Blow boosted Styraco Bomb team skill, and then her Styraco and Dilofo are quick to follow. This leaves just the big man himself, the BB boss, who turns out to be none other than the police chief Bartholomew Bulwart. Bulwart uses a team of only Sauropods, being Salto and Earth Element, as well as Amargo and Shuno, both fires. They all have around 200 health, and being long ranges can hit well from anywhere on the field. This is the second fight I was dreading all run, but since I managed to get past all the Earth Snivels fights, I'm feeling slightly more confident and start the battle. I begin hoping that I can use Terra's team skill to deal a decent chunk of damage to Bulwart's team, but it only deals around half to them, and then Bulwart defeats Hypsy with 2 Amargo combos. Now that my healer is gone, the fight is just a race against time. So I hit the Salto Amargo traded for with Terra's Great Vortex to use the accuracy drop from a Super Enrage to stay in the fight. However, not only is Salto able to hit through the Super Enrage, but they also get a crit on Metria, who manages to take Salto out before falling to Shuno. All I have left is Terra, and the Super Enrage can only affect 1 Vivosaur at a time since I only get 1 attack per turn. So even though they put up a good fight, Terra is eventually taken down. After that loss, I return to fight Bulwart again, but this time I use a different strategy. Hypsy is a key player to staying alive as long as possible, so instead of going for team skills, I begin by putting a Super Enrage on Amargo. This Super Enrage prevents Amargo from hitting Hypsy, and forces a switch into Salto. Salto then falls into the same trap of being Super Enraged, and switches for Shuno, who does the same. When Shuno is on their last sliver of health, Bulwart changes his strategy and moves Salto back to the front before attacking, allowing them to get a nasty hit off on Hypsy with full accuracy. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get a Super Enrage up on Salto next turn, so Salto takes Hypsy out with a Salto Crush, but it's too late for Bulwart at this point. I drop Amargo's health with Terra before bringing up Metria to take out Salto with a Metria combo. This leaves the barely alive Amargo and Shuno, who can't even take out Metria before falling, and giving me the victory. With that, Bulwart is defeated and arrested by his former subordinates, and I rescue Rosie just in time for the next level up fight. This level up fight adds a new rule. forcing me to win within a certain number of turns or else I fail. If I end up having to fight full Earth teams again, then this level up fight will be a disaster. My first fight is against Jane, and I have 12 turns to beat her, which is pretty easy as all she has is a defensively frail Shan-Shan, V-Raptor, and Nichus. My next fight against Mrs. Wriggle I once again have to win in 12 turns. And since Metria leveled up to level 6, I'm forced to change them out for Styraco. Despite this, Mrs. Wriggle is an easy victory as she has 2 water elements and a Coatless, who gets taken out by a first turn crit from Terra. This leaves the Level Master, who must be defeated in 10 turns. The Level Master turns out to be Dr. Diggins himself, bringing his own Stego, Shuno, and Delofo. Since Dr. Diggins has 2 high-health Vivosaurs, I get to go first, and set up my winning strategy of spamming Super Enrage, starting with his leading Shuno. With the drop in accuracy, Shuno's unable to hit Hypsy, but I don't take them out even though I have the chance. This is because I want Dr. Diggins to attack with Shuno again before switching, which he does. I go for team damage instead of the Super Enrage since I don't fear Stego doing very much. And I'm right not to fear Stego, as he only deals about 1/5 to Hypsy before Terra can take out Delofo. Shuno comes back and together with Stego bring both Terra and Hypsy down to around a quarter. I bring Styraco to the front to take a hit from Stego before finishing it off with the Styraco combo. Now that Dr. Diggins is defeated, I'm a level 6 fighter, and thankfully the level cap increases to 6 as both Terra and Hypsy leveled up from that fight. As I'm about to leave the next morning, Dr. Diggins stops me and upgrades my sonar to detect any more of those tacky idols. Those idols will have to wait though, as I head to Rivet Ravine and discover a new place to get fossils, the Mole's Secret Tunnel. This gives me 2 new Vivosaurs in Noto and Megath, 2 of the signature Vivosaurs of Rex. Once they've been fully upgraded, I add Noto to my team to act as a tank, and use his special power scale ability, which equalizes the FP of both fighters and allowing me to steal a decent chunk of the opponent's FP when I take out one of their Vivosaurs. I head over to Mount Lavaflow to look for the final idol, but it turns out there's a large boulder in the way. Luckily for me though, Duna appears again and blasts the boulder to pieces with her ray gun. This game has technology that can revive a fully grown dinosaur from the dead using just its head. A ray gun is nothing special at this point. It's not long, though, before I find another boulder and need Duna to destroy it again. With the boulder gone, I can dig up the last tacky idol, but Duna demands that I give it to her. I back away from her, and the heat from the lava causes her to reveal her true form as a lizard person. Unable to leave me be now that I know she isn't human, Duna attacks me and transforms into a dinosaur. Duna's support effects are wild, granting a 77% boost to defense, accuracy, and evasion, and she uses 2 robots called Dinomatons that have a whopping 40 attack, more than even my Spinax. Unfortunately for her though, Duna's a water element, meaning my fight against her was pretty easy. My victory is short-lived however, as an earthquake causes a 3rd boulder to fall on top of Duna. Since I don't have my own ray gun, I'm forced to mine away at the boulder with my pickaxe. Duna is confused as to why I saved her, since she just tried to attack me, and leaves as the earthquake continues. Rosie comes to pick me up, and when we return, we discover that the BB bandits have taken over the island, and that Bulwart is holed up in Richmond's office. Once I fight my way to Bulwart, he reveals that he has a new trump card, the legendary dinosaur Frigisaurus, which he plans to use for world domination. Bulwart shows me Frigi's power firsthand, with all attacks against it being rendered useless with its unknown stats. Bulwart easily defeats me, and even freezes both me and Rosie solid in ice before having us taken away. When we wake up, we discover ourselves in jail, but are quickly let out by Rex. Rex guides us to the Fossil Center basement, where Vivian and Snivels have brought Dr. Diggins and Mr. Richmond after deciding to betray Bulwart for not appreciating them enough. Snivels reveals that Bulwart found Frigi by threatening the Dig-a-Dig chieftain, and Dr. Diggins suggests that we speak with him to find out how to stop Bulwart, so I head off to Knotwood Forest. There, the chieftain tells me of Frigi's creation, and of its rival Vivosaur, the Great Ignosaurus, located deep within Mount Lavaflow. With that information, I return to the basement and head out with Rex to retrieve the fossil. Somehow, Rex and I manage to turn off the lava by turning a valve and drain the volcano. I know I said this is a world with reviving dinosaurs by their heads and ray guns, but this is just too out there for me. Now that the lava is gone, I'm able to get the Ignosaurus fossil, but Bulwart was one step ahead of us and hits the fossil with his Imperva ray, making the fossil completely impenetrable and unable to be cleaned for revival. Back at the fossil center, Dr. Dickens and I try to clean the fossil, but nothing works. That's when Duna appears again and uses her own ray gun on the fossil, somehow neutralizing the imperva ray effect and allowing me to clean and revive Igno. Igno is a true monster, having 999 health and 99 in all stats, really living up to the legend as Phrygi's rival. With Igno now revived, I return to Bulwart to defeat him once and for all. In order to defeat Phrygi, I must use Igno on my team, but because of the rules, I can't attack with Igno at all. This means that Igno just has to sit there and be a punching bag for Phrygi, whose stats together with Igno's have reduced down to normal levels. Except their attack, that's still staying at 99. So with Igno in the front to act as a tank and not attack, I can begin the fight. Now let me tell you, this fight was horrible. Not horrible as in challenging gameplay-wise, but because I can only attack with Terra and Hypsy. Phrygi has 45 defense, meaning 45 damage is shaved off from every attack received. And they have 600 health. Terra's Great Vortex, their strongest move, deals only 18 damage per hit. Just to defeat Phrygi took 10 minutes of Terra using Great Vortex, passing the turn, Phrygi hits Igno, misses because of Super Enrage, passing the turn, and repeating over and over again. Once in a while I'd get a lucky crit to deal double damage, but this was just awful. It then took another 5 minutes to take down Bulwart's remaining Salto and Shuno, who, like Phrygi, refused to attack anything but Igno. With Bulwart's defeat, he is arrested once again, peace is brought back to the island, and I can take my final level up fight. This level up fight adds a unique rule like before, except this time, rather than a turn limit, I'm unable to lose any of my Vivosaurs during the fight. If even one of my Vivosaurs goes down, then I lose. My first opponent is Westley, with a Kentro, Delta, and Krona. Since Krona is a long-range Vivosaur, and Hypsy has low defense and health, my plan was to use Spinax's Harden on Hypsy to increase their defense, until I've saved up enough FP to attack with Terra and inflict my signature Super Enrage. I easily took out Wesley's team and moved on to my next opponent, Mr. Ozzelwit. Mr. Ozzelwit uses a full fire team of Lambeo, Steige, and Amargo, making him one of the rare enemies capable of using team skills, and boy did he use them. Mr. Ozzelwit beat me 2 fights in a row using his team skills to take out my weakened Terra, followed by Coatless. Only on my 3rd attempt did I take out his Lambeo, preventing him from using any more team skills and making the rest of the fight easy. But now comes the real challenge, the level master Sorehead. Sorehead uses a Guan, which gives a 90% boost to attack, and Earth Elements Pelto and Pachirino. I decide to start this fight with Coatless, so I can later switch into Spinax while Sorehead chooses Pelto. I try to take out Guan with a Great Vortex to get rid of their monstrous attack boost, but they just barely survive. Then Pelto hits Coatless with a non-crit Pelto combo and instantly ends the fight. Okay, that didn't go as expected. For my 2nd attempt, I apply a Harden on Coatless, to help them survive and hit Guan with a Wing Cutter. Guan survives at half, and Pelto decides to hit Spinax instead of Coatless with an Earth Spear, dealing half as well. I take Guan out the next turn and switch in Spinax since they have more health and defense than Coatless. Sorehead sees this and decides to bring in Pachirino to Pachirino Fury Hypsy and one-shot them. On my 3rd attempt, I try to focus more on using my Super Enrage and hoping that Sorehead just can't hit through it. I also apply Hardens to Hypsy whenever I feel like Sorehead is going to switch, so Hypsy can survive any attacks. Unfortunately, Pelto manages to hit through the Super Enrage and once again one-shot Hypsy. After 3 losses in a row, I start browsing through my Vivosaurs, just hoping for some kind of inspiration to win this fight. That's when I see one Vivosaur in particular, and it hits me. Megath. Megath has pretty low stats, as they take longer to develop than most. What Megath has over all other Vivosaurs in my collection is its support effects. Support effects that just so happen to lower the enemy's accuracy by 20%. This means that if I get a Super Enrage on my opponent, combined with Megath's accuracy drop, then they'll have 0 accuracy, and would be unable to ever hit me. That's right, my master plan was simple. Make every enemy worse than Zyno. So I went back to Ravine to dig up some Megath fossils and give Megath some needed stat boosts, before finally bringing my new plan to fruition. I lead with Spinax in the front while having Coatless and Megath in the back. Since my team has more health than Sorehead's, he gets to attack first. Being a master level fighter, Sorehead immediately sees through my strategy and hits Megath with a Guan boosted Earth Spear for more than half. Now that it's my turn, I leave it all to Coatless and use Great Vortex. And I get the Super Enrage. Now Pelto is unable to hit a thing as I slowly carve away at it. Pelto uses Pelto Combo, it misses. Coatless uses Great Vortex for damage and to reapply Super Enrage. Pelto uses Pelto Combo again, miss again. Coatless uses Great Vortex, and Spinax gives Megath a Harden. Pelto switches for Pachyrino, does nothing for some reason. Coatless gives Pachyrino Super Enrage, and Pachyrino uses Pachyrino Fury. Miss. Pachyrino switches for Pelto, who manages to hit Spinax for a third. Coatless takes out Pelto. Guan then moves forward and later gets Super Enraged. That's when things start getting close. Guan switches out for Pachyrino, who now has enough FP to use Pachyrino Fury again, but this time without the Super Enrage. Pachyrino goes for Megath, and Megath just barely survives. If that was a crit, Megath would have fallen, and I'd have to start all over again. From there, I'm able to use Coatless to take out Pachyrino, and Spinax uses Spinax Combo to finish off Guan, finally winning me the fight. That was insane. Megath was right next to Coatless as the MVP, and Megath didn't even attack that whole fight. With that down, I've become a master level fighter, and the level cap has increased for the final time to 8. With the level up fight complete, Duna invites me down to the docks to explain that she's a part of an alien race called dinaurians, and how she used to hate humans until I rescued her. Despite this, she believes she won't be able to see me ever again and leaves. The next morning, Rosie informs me that the idols we've been collecting actually have a secret use, and that Dr. Diggins is testing them under the Richmond building. But that can wait. Since I'm now a master level fighter, the final 2 sections have opened up in Rivet Ravine, including a pay-to-dig site. So I make my way over to Rivet Ravine, prove that I'm not poor, and start digging for more team members. I'm then able to revive a Serato, who's not as good as Spinax, a Paraloff, who's not as good as Spinax, and finally an Igua, who's not as good as Spinax. If you can't tell, I've decided to go all in on my new Megath strategy, and since none of my new Vivosaurs can lower accuracy, inflict Super Enrage, or apply Harden, I end up passing on them. But it's always good to at least have them just in case. With that done, I head over to the Richmond building, where Rosie is immediately assaulted by some rat-like creature, and a guard is traumatized by whatever he saw. We head into the basement to find Duna and another dinaurian called Rapton taking the idols for themselves. Rapton explains that the idols are actually called sub-idol comps, and that the dinaurians require them for an experiment to wipe out all humans on Earth, before blasting Rosie with a ray gun and turning her into a rat. Rapton tries to do the same to me, but luckily I only get knocked out as Rapton and Duna leave with the idols. When I wake up, I go to meet with Richmond and Dr. Diggins, who takes a pendant belonging to Rapton from Rosie, sneezes and activates it, and teleports Dr. Diggins and myself to the Dinaurian mothership. We quickly return to Earth, however, as we obviously look human and need a disguise. That's when Richmond has an idea. He tells me to go to Sorehead and ask for his mask, as his mask is extremely high quality and should disguise us as dinaurians, somehow. So I head over to the Fossil Stadium to find Sorehead, and that's when he drops the bomb on me. In order to have his mask, I have to defeat him in 5 fights in a row, with each fight having different Vivosaurs making up 5 elemental teams. First is Sorehead's neutral team, consisting of a Brachio, Jara, and Neo. I ended up missing a lot of Super Enrages, while he missed a lot of Excites from Neo and Sleeps from Jara. Jara does manage to take out my Spinax, but it was a pretty easy fight overall. Second is his water team, using Ankleo, Angato, and Cryo. Even though it was a water team, it was still really annoying because of Ankleo's support effects doubling his lead's defense. He would also use Cryo to excite and follow up with Poison from Angato to slowly take out my team. I tried to use Coatless's Blowaway to push Cryo out of the front and remove Ankleo's support effects, but it never worked, so I stuck with just beating them with pure force instead. The third battle is Snivels all over again, with Sorehead's Pachi, Karchar, and Acro. It's not just another Snivels fight because of the Karchar and Acro either, but also because the whole fight is just me super enraging the front liner until they fall and switch out so the process can repeat until I win. Sorehead's fourth team is his air team, and to me it's the least impressive of his teams. Sorehead uses a Paraloff, Kentro, and Styraco, and I can't exactly figure out what his strategy is supposed to be. I can't use my Super Enrage until Styraco is defeated, so I just hit Paraloff until it falls. Sorehead tries to protect Styraco with a Super Harden, a more powerful version of the regular Harden, so I just take out his Kentro first and then finish off Styraco. Sorehead's final team is his Fire team, plus Tarbo for some reason. What fires he does have, though, are a Gorgo and the mighty T-Rex, the strongest of all attack class Vivosaurs. However, as I said with Zyno, it doesn't matter how strong you are if you can't hit anything. So on my first turn, I go straight for a Super Enrage, and now I've nothing to fear from T-Rex. Sorehead switches his team around a few times, but they all meet the same fate of being Super Enraged and then going down. With his Fire Tarbo team taken down, that ends the Sorehead gauntlet on my first attempt. Because I managed to defeat him, Sorehead keeps his word and gives me his mask. The Sorehead fans look on in excitement as they're about to be some of the few people to have ever seen Sorehead's true face. Sorehead removes his mask and reveals that beneath his mask is another mask. Don't be disappointed though, as I need a second mask for Dr. Diggins. So Sorehead removes his second mask for me, revealing a third mask. Sorehead laughs at his fans' confusion, saying that he wears an astounding 30 masks at a time. With the Sorehead masks in hand, I return to Dr. Diggins and we board the Dinaurian mothership. While aboard, we learn that the Dinaurians are sleeping as they wait for their Project Mother planet to make Earth a habitable planet for them. The idols are special computers meant to assist the main idol in guiding the evolution of the planet to suit the Dinaurians. Just as we're about to enter a mysterious purple room, we're stopped by a Dinaurian saying that someone called King Dinal has given strict orders to stay out. We enter anyways and find the 4 idols along with one enormous idol. We don't get much time to inspect though, as Duna and King Dinal enter the room. Dinal tells Duna to activate the main idol and erase human life on Earth, but Duna refuses. In order to buy Dr. Diggins some time to remove one of the idols, I reveal myself as a human, and Dinal has the robot security Dinomatans attack me. It's this fight where I learn my Super Enrage strategy isn't invincible, as the Dinomatans are immune to most status effects, including Enrage. Because of this, I end up losing the fight against the Dinomatans and have to come up with a new strategy, for not only this fight, but for future ones also involving Dinomatans. So once I'm forced back to Earth, I clean a Noto fossil for a Noto level up, and return to the fight again with Noto and Hypsy instead of Coatless and Megath. Since I don't have access to status effects, I decided to go with Brute Force, while also protecting Spinax with a 120% boost to defense. This ends up being the right call, because I'm able to defeat all of the Dinomatans without losing a single member of my team. Dinal used the Dinomatans as a distraction, however, and attempts to activate the main idol but fails, as Dr. Diggins removed one of them just in time. The main idol still releases its energy, however, and sends Dr. Diggins and the idol 150 million years into the past. Infuriated at our interference, Dinal attempts to fight me, but Duna warps us away. Back on Earth, Duna talks to Richmond about the situation, and with a newly recovered Rosie, we all head to the basement to search for the missing idol. However, we discover that the warp through time caused the idol to shatter into 5 separate pieces, and, of course, I'm forced to go and collect them. So I head to each of the main dig sites and collect an idol fragment in Greenhorn Plains, Knotwood Forest, Rivet Ravine, Bottoms Up Bay, and Mount Lava Flow. Once I return, we find out that there is still a missing piece, and Richmond reveals that there's a secret final area on the island, called Secret Island, which is home to a crashed spaceship which is the origin of the fossil revival technology. With nowhere else left to search, Duna and I head over to Secret Island, quickly learning that the crashed spaceship was actually a Dinaurian scout ship that was studying a creature called guhnash, the monster that consumed the Dinaurian homeworld. While further exploring the ship, we find stone tablets detailing someone's adventure through the age of the dinosaurs, like being fed by mouth from a pteranodon. In the deepest area of the ship, we discover someone within stone sleep holding the final idol fragment. But before we can retrieve them, Rapton appears and challenges me to a fight. Rapton is a real nasty opponent, as his support effects can drop my AZ Vivosaur's stats aside from their attack by 77%. It's because of these support effects that after a long fight, I end up losing. That 77% drop to accuracy gave me a taste of my own medicine, so I decided to switch out Noto for Styraco since they offer a 50% buff to accuracy to counter Raptin. I also revived my final two Vivosaurs from the Secret Island fossils, with them being Hoplo and Cheris. Hoplo boosts accuracy by 50%, but also boosts attack by the same amount. However, I decide against using Hoplo since Styraco is bulkier and can replace Spinax in a bad situation. Cheris I don't even consider, since they're just Xyno support, so they're pretty useless for my team. The next Raptin fight goes much better, as after a few turns of Raptin attacking and me healing the damage back, I nearly take him out with a Cyclone. Since Raptin is determined to remove my Hypsy, I spend a few more turns healing and hardening Hypsy until taking Raptin out with a Cyclonic Breath team skill from Spinax, leaving just the Dinomatans. The Dinomatans once again target Hypsy, but after the same back and forth of them attacking and me healing and hardening, I defeat the two of them and chase Raptin off. Duna and I return to the main island and revive the person in stone sleep, who, surprise surprise, turns out to be Dr. Diggins. Dr. Diggins made sure to hold on to the idol fragment while in the past, and hands it over to me. I return to the Richmond basement and piece the idol back together for Richmond, who turns out to be Dynal in disguise. Dynal then stuns Rosie and the real Richmond, followed shortly by Dr. Diggins and Duna before returning to the mothership. I chase after Dynal using the teleporter Dr. Diggins built and confront him in the idol room for a fight deciding the fate of the Earth, humans, and dinaurians. Dynal has an astounding 500 health, as well as crippling support effects that lower all my stats by 77%. Despite this, I was able to pull out an easy but drawn-out victory by taking out his Dinomatans first, and then finishing him off after losing my Styraco. The victory, however, causes Hypsy to level up to 9, meaning that I can't use them in any other fights going forward. Dynal accepts his defeat, but decides to have the Dinaurians stay on Earth. Raptin refuses this idea, however, and goes against Dynal's orders by activating the main idol. The sub-idols speak up and reveal that the main idol cannot regress humanity, as they did not evolve from the planted Dinaurian seeds. So the main idol called Guhnash to come and destroy the Earth. Because the Dinaurians summon the World Eater Guhnash to Earth, Dynal decides to rescue as many humans as possible on the Dinaurian mothership. That's where Dr. Diggins reveals he learned about Guhnash well in the past, and discovered that it can be defeated by destroying its 3 brains. So after a quick look over of my team, I head to Guhnash via the teleporter and take Duna with me for the final battle. Guhnash's 3 brains are quite the opponents, as you'd expect for a World Eater, but not for their support effects, but for their stats. The combat brain, Gavorn, boasts the strongest attack move in the game, while the defense brain, Galith, has a whopping 30 defense, and the final evasion brain, Gaweep, has a team recovery skill. Since both Galith and Gaweep have a skill that rearranges my team's placement, I bring Vivosaurs that would be fine anywhere on the field, choosing Coatless the Super Enrager, Noto the Tank and FP Stealer, and Spinax, my starting Vivosaur and hard-hitting Harden user. The final battle begins, and I get to go first. Who would have guessed? I begin by applying a Super Enrage on Gavorn. Guhnash is having none of that, though, and immediately switches for Gaweep, who hits Coatless with a Weeping Slam for minor damage. I fail to get a Super Enrage on Gaweep, so I harden Coatless just in case. This doesn't matter, though, as Gaweep uses Whirling Displacement to force my positions to change, and Coatless is placed in the EZ. I confuse Gaweep with a Perplex Shot from Noto, and harden Spinax in case Gavorn is brought to the front. The confusion instead brings Galith forward, and Gavorn gives them a Super Inflame. They won't be able to utilize it, though, as Coatless comes back and gives them a Super Enrage. Galith misses their next attack, taking another Great Vortex, and then swaps for Gavorn, who hits a Gash combo for minor damage on my hardened Coatless. Coatless then chips away at the Xenofied Gavorn with Great Vortex until Galith returns to the front and throws Coatless in the EZ and Noto in the AZ with Whirling Displacement. After doing a bit of damage with Noto, Gavorn comes back, only to be Super Enraged again. Gaweep then moves forward and is immediately Super Enraged. I try to confuse with Noto's Perplex Shot, but fail, allowing Gaweep to Whirling Displacement Coatless into the AZ. I nearly take Gaweep out with a Great Vortex, and they switch into Gavorn to hit Coatless with a Gash combo, and then be Super Enraged. I make sure to keep Coatless hardened, since I no longer have the guaranteed misses from Megath, but Gavorn isn't able to land any hits. Galith is, however, so I bring Spinax forward and try to take out Gavorn, but fail, allowing Galith to take their place and whirling displacement Spinax into the EZ. My battle of attrition ultimately pays off, as Gavorn takes Galith's place after a few turns and goes down to a Spinax Fang. Gaweep falls next to the diving thrust, leaving just Galith standing. Galith makes sure to take out my Coatless, but that gives me just enough FP to hit it with a Cyclone and a Perplex shot. In a final attempt to protect itself, Galith uses Whirling Displacement, but is then taken out with another Perplex shot. With his 3 brains defeated, guhnash explodes, and Duna and I enter Stone Sleep to survive it. I'm later retrieved and revived, but Duna isn't so lucky as she remains trapped in Stone Sleep forever. At least she would be, until the Digadig Chieftain comes and tells me to shake my hips at her and free her from the Stone Sleep. With guhnash destroyed and Duna restored, I have officially beaten all of Fossil Fighters with only Air Element Vivosaurs. I had no idea how possible this run would be going into it, but I was surprised at how little times I lost. The fights that I thought would be impossible were actually made possible thanks to mostly Hypsy and Coatless, 2 Vivosaurs I've never used back when I first played this game like a decade ago. I honestly thought the final Snivels fight and the Sorehead 5 were going to be impossible, but I managed to get through both on my first try. This has given me more confidence for future runs, but we'll have to see how those turn out. The next run I'm planning on trying is Fossil Fighters, but with only Fire Element Vivosaurs. I knew nothing about the Air Vivosaurs going into this run, and I know nothing about the Fire ones, except Guan is a good support for attack, and I get 2 Sauropods, so we'll see how it goes. With that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.